Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, good morning everyone.
Good morning, Miss.
Welcome to survey of Anglophonic literature class with me, Agri Pramita. So we've talked a little about the objective of this course last week. So today we will be discussing about understanding its field and scope. Jadi ini scope-nya apa aja dan wahana atau ranahnya kemana aja ya. Nah, before we start, I have something to refresh your mind, I guess ya. Di sini nih, I have a picture of 8 famous writers, well, Anglophonic writers. Any of you can tell me a name or two based on this picture?
The first one is Chinua Achebe.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, the first one is Chinua Achebe. So basically, thank you, Sarah. Salma. Yes. Okay, thank you, Salma. So these people are very famous in Anglophonic literature, and they were, I must say, inspire the world about what was actually happened in a certain region colonized by British Empire. Yeah. Before we jump to our discussion, I will check our attendance list first. Okay, Sandy present.
Yes, present.
Bintang,
Present.
Haikal,
Present.
Salma,
Present.
and Sarah. Okay, everyone's here. Yeah. Okay. Now we move to this next page. We know that when we jump to this page, I will explain to you some sort of comparison. If as in other major, there is actually a similar subject with Anglophonic. In French literature, they have a Francophone literature. Itu kan, we know that French was a colonizer. Jadi Prancis itu dulunya penjajah, sama seperti Inggris. So one of their I must say achievement, yeah. So there are lots of people in the world speak their language. Kalau di Anglophone itu adalah hasil jajahan Inggris. Nah, kalau Francophone literature itu daerah yang dijajah sama Prancis, sehingga akhirnya banyak penulis-penulis yang nulis pakai bahasa Prancis padahal dia bukan orang Prancis. Nah, kurang lebih kita sama sastra Prancis itu sama, ada subjek ini. Nah, oke. Anglophonic literature, sebelum saya menjelaskan lebih rinci, sudah tahu ya, Sandy, what is it?
Tentang orang-orang yang dijajah oleh Inggris, orang-orang yang non Inggris juga bisa dibilang, buat ya literasi lah.
Very good. Yeah, that's basically what Sandy just said. All literary work composed in the English language, regardless of the author's nationality. Jadi semua karya sastra yang ditulis pakai bahasa Inggris tanpa harus memiliki kewarganegaraan Inggris. So if you want to write something in English, you can be an Anglophonic writer too. Jadi I must say that there is the growing meaning of Anglophonic writer. Dulunya Anglophonic writer itu cuma spesifik ke mereka yang pernah dijajah. Tapi makin kesini, the more people speak English, jadi kayak tidak perlu dijajah untuk bisa berbahasa Inggris seperti kita, gitu ya. So when you decide to write fiction in English, you will be characterized as Anglophonic writer, ya. Oke, berikutnya. Nah, one of the reason why this major rising, like consistently rising, yang itu adalah the global spread of English. Jadi, because English, like everywhere, everyone, well, if they don't speak English, they at least understand written English. So this is why the growth of Anglophonic literature is keep growing each day. Nah, di sini the expansion of English made it possible for the diverse writers to contribute to a shared literacy space while maintaining local voices. So, well, kalau saya bilang sih agak gimana ya, agak sedih juga kenapa kita harus memperkenalkan budaya kita pakai bahasa Inggris. But if we don't keep up with the trend, the world will never know, will never heard about Sundanese, about Minangkabaunis and everything. So let's forget about that fact, but let's more focus on we have to keep up with what's happening. Ya, jadi we can voice our local voices globally. Ya. Lalu berikutnya ada, core characteristics of Anglophonic literature. Jadi di sini apa sih yang biasanya menjadi inti dari karakteristik Anglophonic literature ini? Yang pertama ada pengarang, often mix English with local expressions. Jadi, so if we are Indonesian, jadi ada kalau di India itu ada yang namanya Singlish, Vinglish, ya, India berbahasa Inggris. So there will be like prefix, suffix yang kayak Inggris, kayak India banget, ya. Atau kalau yang paling dekat sama kita, Singlish, Singaporean English itu kan they have akhiran atau yang meaningless kayak lah. It's okay lah. That's not how formal English sounds. But when it comes to Anglophonic literature, that is acceptable and that is enrich the definition of Anglophonic literature itself. Jadi nggak masalah. Let's say English mixed with Indonesian will sound more like Jaksel in your writing. It's okay when it's part of the conversation. Boleh-boleh saja. Jadi tidak ada definisi formal English or right or wrong English in Anglophonic literature as long as you bring your own local voices. Ya. Berikutnya. Nah. Ini ada I have 4 dominant growth of writer in Anglophonic literature. Ada key regions and author. There are 4 dominant. I must say dominant because they have a very long history with colonization. There is Africa, Asia, Caribbean, Oceania. Africa, well, basically. Half of it colonized by British Empire and half of it colonized by Spain, French, and
Portuguese.
Yeah, betul, Portuguese juga. Lalu ada Asia. Well, actually, why I said Asia because there are lots of part Asia that keep writing in English. One of them is India. Yeah, we know India had been colonized by British Empire for so long, yeah, and also now we have Singapore, Malaysia also. Banyak loh sekarang penulis Malaysia yang benar-benar sudah langsung menulis dalam Melayu Inggris ya. Oke. Lalu ada Caribbean ini atas New Zealand, ke atas lagi Hawaii dan teman-temannya. Lalu ada Oceania ini New Zealand, Maori, suku-suku kayak tokoh-tokoh Moana itu, orang-orang besar. Ya. Oke, lalu ada common themes in Anglophonic literature. Well, Anglophonic literature used to explore colonialization theme. Dulunya konsepnya itu selalu kolonialisme, penjajahan, or the after post colonialization, ya, pasca penjajahan itu gimana kondisinya. Nah, ternyata udah masuk di sini ada colonialism and its aftermath, and then what's after colonialization we have post-colonialism issues. Ada yang namanya muncul hybridity and cultural conflict. Ada orang mulai sok ke barat-baratan, ada orang yang mempertahankan tidak, yang namanya Indonesia itu tidak boleh gini-gini. Bentrok antara lokal and colonization. Yang berikutnya ada displacement and migration. Nah, dampak dari penjajahan itu salah satunya ada displacement. Displacement ini apa ya? Pengusiran. Banyak orang yang merasa like this is a dead end. So if I want to have a better life, I have to move from this country. Kejadiannya, is that really happen, Miss? Yes. Di Inggris sana orang India sebanyak apa kita nggak tahu. Banyak banget, ya. Terus di Amerika, di Kanada orang India. Why? That's one of the effect of the colonialization. They feel like they stuck in India. They don't have enough opportunities in India, so they move to Western country to get a better life. Well, we know that America has their tagline, yes we can, ya kan? Like America is the most democratic country and everything. So it sounds like a promising land for colonized citizen, ya, penduduk-penduduk yang udah dijajah. Berikutnya ada race, gender, and inequality. Ini pasti, ya. Jadi these are the common theme. Ini adalah tema yang umum ada hadir dalam monophonic literature. Nggak selalu seperti ini, karena makin kesini makin kreatif ya. Bahkan we Indonesia, we have a very famous English writer from Indonesia. Her name is Lala Bohang. She's very famous. Got international recognition. The first time she wrote, it's already in English, ya, udah dari bahasa Inggris langsung, ya. Oke. Ini ada common themes. Berikutnya, nah, well, we already know the theme of the literary work. Let's say the prose, the short story, and everything. Now we have theoretical approaches. Well, like it or not, from this first semester, you already have to open your mind with literary criticism, literary theory. Jadi ini, you know the object already. I always love to make some sort of comparatively to make you easier to understand. Jadi kan teman-teman udah paham banyak karya sastranya nih. Ibaratnya kalian tuh udah banyak tahu nama-nama buah. Let's say semangka, pepaya, dan segala macam. Ya. Nah, each fruit has its own way for us to enjoy it. Punya cara sendiri buat dibuka. We cannot treat the way we peel banana with the way we peel durian. Ya kan? Nggak bisa kan? Beda. Gimana kita makan pisang mau makan durian itu beda. So this is the function of theoretical approaches. So the more theory you understand, the more knives you have. Makin banyak teori yang kalian pahami, makin banyak pisau yang kalian punya. Jadi kalau potong kue pakai pisau kue, bukan pakai pisau daging. Kepotong sih, tapi kan jelek.
Iya.
Ya. Nah ini penting. Nah ini cuma yang umum-umum saja ya. Yang pertama itu ada postcolonial theory. Ya, you can learn these names first, and then you can Google their name, what's their theory and what's their purpose and everything. Edward Said, Homi Kababa, Gayatri Spivak, and then we have hybridity and mimicry, and also we have subaltern studies. This is the very common thing, but I won't limit your curiosity to this certain area only. You can explore more by reading, let's say, Malaysian writer, Singaporean. I think all of you have ever watched Crazy Rich Asia? Crazy Rich Asia? Ya, itu kan zaman dari novel. Novel tuh yang nulis orang Singapura. If you read the novel, it's no way sound like English because nah, lah, tak, ke, semua dialog-dialog Melayu ada di sana. Well, it's okay. Dan itu justru yang menegaskan bahwa so English belongs to everyone right today, ya, nggak not only to the certain region only, ya. Okay. Berikutnya, why study Anglophonic literature? The first one is it will broaden our perspective, and it will gain insight. Well, we can understand various of experiences experienced by any citizenship around the world. We can understand how actually apa itu suku asli aborigin ya, how the aborigin people suffer from the colonization. Indian people in America, yeah, they actually displaced, diusir ya, diusir terus. Nah, kita bisa mengerti various life experience, and also we can understand cultural diversity. Oh, di India itu kalau meninggal pakai baju putih-putih. Oh, ternyata di Indonesia nih ternyata sama kayak Barat ya, hitam-hitam gitu. So that's cultural diversity. And the last one, we can develop critical thinking, of course. We can see how not only how bad colonialization already, but how deep colonialization can let's say reconstruct a nation's life. Jadi kita bisa lihat bukan sekedar penjajahan itu bom, pembunuhan, nggak sekedar itu, but it can actually change the whole system in a nation. Pendidikan bisa berubah, ya kan? Ya ada yang bilang Indonesia kenapa nggak dijajah Inggris saja gitu-gitu ya. Nah itu dimulai dari di sini critical thinkingnya, ya. Dan berikutnya ada challenges and opportunities. Di sini ada tentu saja every major it has challenges, punya tantangannya masing-masing. Yang pertama, I will explain about the challenge first. The challenge itu some voices are still excluded due to limited access. Jadi we believe the literary scholars believe that there are tons of voices that are not being heard until today. Jadi masih banyak banget ragam suara yang belum kedengaran sampai sekarang, ya. Itu masih banyak, and it is worth your time to explore. Akan sangat penting, worth it lah, ya, untuk diekspor. Berikutnya ada tensions may exist between preserving native languages and writing in English. We as the reader will experience lots of possibilities of misunderstanding. Kita sebagai yang baca akan banyak kayaknya nggak ngerti ini maksudnya apa. Baca Chinua Achebe aja ya, dengan logat Afrikanya itu masuk semua di karyanya. Ini bahasa Inggrisnya gimana sih, bingung apa. Well, it's okay. It means that we are starting to appreciate another culture. That's a step. That's a very good step. Yeah. Okay. That is all about Anglophonic. Any questions?
I think I'm going to ask something.
Okay, Sandy.
Lebih ke karena ini ya, kalau zaman sekarang mungkin daripada lebih kolonial, lebih kebanyakan tentang ras gender ya kalau yang lainnya. Terus kayak apa ya, untuk yang kolonialisme kemungkinan karena penjajahan udah jarang ya, kecuali ada negara nih, satu negara yang biasa sering kita bahas, Palestina, dan dia juga ngeluarin kan waktu itu kan. Nah menurut Miss ini tuh apa ya, cukup sedih juga nggak sih, dimana karena tuh orang-orang pada ngebahas masih ras gender padahal masih ada yang dijajah.
Yeah, betul. Okay, to respond to that question, well, I think it's quite subjective. Ya, itu kayaknya ketimpangan perkembangan hidup ya. Di mana di kita masih berkutat sama A, negara lain udah berkutat sama B, hal B. Well, you don't have to be dismissive about that. You just try to understand that phenomena and embrace it, just like anggap saja itu sebagai sebuah dinamika, ya. Kalau yang lain ngomongin gender tapi yang lain masih terjajah, itu kan kayaknya nggak fair. Well, that's life. Life is always unfair, ya kan? So you cannot dismiss that fact, the fact that other region already talk about race and gender, and meanwhile the other side is still talking about colonialization. Just embrace it as a dynamics, ya, dynamics in life, dinamika kehidupan. Jadi kalau ditanya, Miss itu gimana? Well, it's okay, life is always unfair. Jadi itu bisa jadi bahan untuk membuat komparatif analisis misalnya, ya. Nggak semuanya harus saklek, harus kayak gini, nggak. Bisa dibikin untuk komparatif, bisa dibikin untuk refleksi gitu ya, dan lain-lain. Okay, very good question. Okay, now thank you very much. Before we jump to our last section, I will have some sort of quiz, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay, yeah. So it's just a little quiz, only 5 questions. Please open wayground.com and then please enter this quiz, yeah. Okay, 3 participants, 4. Okay. Udah? Okay, I'll start the quiz ya. Wow. Which one of you are catching up? Okay. Wow. Okay. I think all of you are acing it, yeah? Kind of me. All of the 5 questions are answered, yeah? Very good. Yeah. Thank you very much. And this is the last part of our discussion today. Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, I want you to make a conclusion on your own, but this is very personal for me. You can have your own personal conclusion, yeah. For me, Anglophonic literature is a powerful and evolving field that connects the local and the global through the English language. Jadi, like it or not, English language is a high demand. Like it's a must, gitu ya. You cannot raise your voice unless with English, yeah. And then it reflects the richness and diversity of human. Studying it allows us to question power. Yeah, we can understand how power actually works. Sometimes it's unfair. Well, it's always unfair when we're talking about power, and explore identity and appreciate multiple worldviews. And last one, it invites us to listen. You know that Philippines is also, they also have a dark history about colonization. It's very dark, yeah? Yeah, and we can learn and respond to the voice shaping global literature today. Yeah, I think that is all for today. I want to hear your opinion first about our meeting today. Is there anything you want to say about the courses?
It's fun.
It's fun. Okay, thank you. I hope this subject will enrich your understanding. So, English literature is actually a very wide scope, that lots of things that can still be questioned and explored. Yeah. Okay. To close our meeting today, I would like to use a very powerful quotes from Chinua Achebe, Nigerian writer. He said that the world is not divided by borders, it is connected by stories. Jadi dunia ini nggak dipisah-pisah sama perbatasan, tapi kita itu disambungkan sama cerita-cerita. Why? Because, well, colonialization itu sama aja. Ada yang menjajah dan yang terjajah. Somehow, from different side of the world, we share the same stories. Thank you very much for today. Class dismissed. See you again next week, everyone. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay.